Welcome to Between Sleep and Science. Close your eyes and let the world outside begin to dissolve. Imagine that the room around you, the sounds of the night, and even the weight of your own body are merely layers of a story that is temporary. Beneath these layers lies something much older, much deeper. Tonight, we are not just observers of the stars. We are returning to the very first page of existence. We are going back to a time before time, to a place where the entire universe was held in a single, silent heartbeat. Before there were galaxies, before there was light, and even before there was space for anything to exist, there was the singularity. Try to visualize this. It is not a black dot sitting in a dark room. There was no room. There was no outside. Everything that would ever be, every star in the Milky Way, every drop of water in the Pacific Ocean, every thought that has ever crossed a human mind, was compressed into a point of infinite density and infinite heat. This was the universe in its most concentrated form. It was a moment of absolute potential, a seed of reality waiting for the first breath of motion. The Big Bang was not an explosion into something else. It was the sudden, miraculous birth of space itself. In an instant, the singularity began to unfold. It wasn't loud, for there was no air to carry sound. It was a silent expansion, a graceful opening of the cosmic flower. And in that first trillionth of a second, the universe performed its most incredible trick: inflation. Imagine a fabric being pulled in every direction at once, stretching so fast that it defies the speed of light. This was inflation. In a fraction of a second, so small it cannot be measured by any clock, the universe expanded from the size of a subatomic particle to something spanning light years. This wasn't matter moving through space. It was space itself growing. Why did the universe rush so quickly into existence? This sudden stretching was essential. It smoothed out the wrinkles of creation. It took the chaotic, jittery energy of the quantum world and pulled it flat, creating the stable, balanced foundation upon which galaxies would eventually be built. Think of it as the universe taking its first deep breath, a breath so powerful that it set the stage for everything that was to follow. As the universe stretched, it began to cool. The searing heat of the beginning started to dissipate, allowing the first fragments of energy to settle into the first particles of matter. But even in this cooling, the universe was not perfectly smooth. There were tiny, microscopic ripples in the fabric of space. These were quantum fluctuations, random flickers of energy that appeared and vanished in the void. During inflation, these tiny ripples were caught and magnified, stretched into vast ridges of density that would one day become the seeds of the first galaxies. You are here because of those random, ancient flickers. The music of the vacuum. Even now, as you lie in the quiet, the empty space around you is never truly empty. According to the laws of quantum physics, the vacuum is a sea of activity. It hums with a hidden energy. Tiny particles and their opposites are constantly popping into existence and annihilating each other in a restless dance. At the dawn of time, this hum was the only music in existence. It was the sound of reality forming itself out of nothing. As inflation ended, the universe was left with a faint ringing, a vibration that echoed through the hot, dense plasma of the early years. Astronomers call this the cosmic ringing. It is the aftershock of creation, frozen into the very architecture of space. Every atom in your body, every cell in your brain carries a trace of this original vibration. You are a melody played by the universe 13.8 billion years ago, still resonating in the present day. The multiverse and the infinite bloom. As we contemplate this beginning, we must ask, was ours the only one? Some theories suggest that the process of inflation didn't just happen once. Imagine a vast eternal sea where bubbles of reality are constantly forming. Our universe would be just one of these bubbles, a single petal in an infinite cosmic garden. In this multiverse, other universes might be budding off from ours even now, invisible and unreachable beyond the horizon of our perception. Each would have its own laws of physics, its own colors of light, its own version of time. The idea is dizzying, but it is also liberating. It means that creation never truly ends. It is always beginning again, always blooming in new and unexpected ways. Our story is just one thread in a tapestry of infinite size. The memory of the beginning. The universe has a long memory. The events of those first few seconds are still written in the sky. When we look at the furthest reaches of space, we are looking back in time, seeing the glow of the early fire. We can trace the patterns of the first ripples, learning how gravity began its slow, patient work of gathering the drifting gas. There is a profound sense of continuity in this. You are not a separate entity looking at the universe. You are the universe's way of remembering its own birth. The atoms that were forged in the cooling wake of the Big Bang are the same atoms that now allow you to feel the air on your skin. The energy that drove the first expansion is the same energy that powers your heart. As the searing heat of the Big Bang begins to fade in our journey, the universe prepares for a new era. The brilliant, opaque fog is about to lift. We are moving toward a moment of clarity, a moment when the first light will finally break free and travel across the void. But before that light can shine, the universe must settle. It must cool. It must find its rhythm. Let the intensity of the beginning subside. Feel the universe growing wider, colder, and more organized. The era of the first fires is ending, and the era of light is about to begin. We are drifting away from the singularity, out into the vast expanding dark where the first atoms are waiting to form. The journey has only just started. As we leave the first seconds of time behind, we prepare to witness the moment the universe finally opened its eyes. As the frantic pace of the first seconds subsides, we enter a long, quiet era of transition. The universe is no longer a microscopic point, but a vast, roiling sea of plasma. If you could see this era, it would be a world of blinding orange brilliance, a thick, glowing fog where light and matter are locked in a desperate, endless embrace. But as the eons pass, the universe continues its steady expansion, and with expansion comes a gentle, cooling breath. We are approaching one of the most significant moments in history, the day the fog finally lifted. The brilliant opaque. For the first 380,000 years, the universe was a closed room. It was filled with protons and electrons, racing around at incredible speeds, too hot and too energetic to settle down. Because these particles were charged, they acted like a billion tiny mirrors. Every time a photon, a particle of light, tried to travel, it would immediately strike an electron and be scattered in a different direction. Light was trapped in a permanent, chaotic zigzag. The cosmos was a brilliant fireball, but it was an opaque one. Information could not travel. Sight did not exist. It was a universe of pure, unadulterated energy, a glowing soup that was so dense and so hot that it felt like a single, vibrating wall of heat. But gravity and time are patient. They waited for the temperature to drop, for the frantic dance of the particles to slow until the universe reached a magic number, 3,000 degrees Kelvin. The moment of recombination. Imagine the chaos of a crowded room where everyone is running in different directions. Then, a signal is given, and everyone suddenly stops and finds a partner. This is recombination. When the universe cooled to that critical temperature, the electrons finally lost enough energy to be captured by the waiting protons. They bonded together, forming the first stable atoms of neutral hydrogen. In that single cosmic instant, the mirrors disappeared. The free electrons that had been blocking the path of light were suddenly tucked away into the quiet orbits of atoms. For the first time since the beginning, the path was clear. The photons that had been trapped for hundreds of millennia were suddenly liberated. They streamed out into the void in every direction at once, flying at the speed of light. The universe, once a glowing fog, became transparent. It was the birth of the horizon. It was the first dawn. The cosmic microwave background. That light, released billions of years ago, did not simply vanish into the past. It is still traveling today. It is the oldest thing you can ever experience. Because the universe has continued to expand. The space through which that light travels has stretched. And as the space stretched, it pulled the light waves along with it, lengthening them from intense, white-hot visible light into the long, cool wavelengths of microwaves. This is the cosmic microwave background, or the CMB. It is the afterglow of creation. It is a whisper from the infancy of the cosmos, a soft, uniform radiance that fills every square inch of the sky. It is passing through the roof of your house, through the air you breathe, and through your skin as you rest. If our eyes could see this frequency, the night sky would not be black. It would glow with a soft, ethereal golden hue, the fading warmth of the Big Bang itself. It is the ultimate testament that the universe has a history, a tangible, measurable memory of its own birth. The seeds of everything. When we point our most sensitive telescopes at this ancient light, we see that it is not perfectly uniform. There are tiny, delicate patches of temperature difference. Some areas are just 1,000th of a degree warmer or cooler than others. These fluctuations are the most important features in existence. The cooler, denser spots had a tiny bit more gravitational pull. Over the next few 100 million years, those spots acted like magnets, drawing in the surrounding hydrogen gas. These were the seeds from which the great filaments of the cosmic web would grow. Every galaxy cluster we see today, every star and every person can trace their lineage back to those subtle patterns in the ancient glow. You are resting tonight because billions of years ago, the light broke free and left behind a blueprint for gravity to follow. The clear, dark ages. Once the light was released, the universe entered a strange and quiet period known as the Dark Ages. The fog was gone and the universe was transparent, but there were no stars yet to light the way. It was a vast, empty expanse of cold hydrogen gas drifting in total darkness. The ancient light of the CMB was fading into the infrared, becoming invisible to any eyes that might have been there to see it. But the silence was deceptive. In the darkness, gravity was working. It was pulling on those seeds of density, gathering the gas into massive, invisible clouds. The universe was preparing for its next great act. The first atoms were settling into their roles, waiting for the pressure to build, waiting for the first spark of nuclear fire. Feel the transition in our journey. The blinding orange glow has faded into a deep, transparent violet, and then into black. The universe is becoming vast, cold, and quiet. But the seeds of the first stars are already beginning to glow with a hidden heat. We are drifting through the long, dark night of the early cosmos, moving toward the moment when the first lanterns will finally ignite and tear through the shadows. The era of gas and darkness is about to give way to the era of fire and alchemy. The silence is heavy with the weight of stars that haven't yet been born, but whose light is already inevitable. The universe has been quiet for a long time. In the wake of the light's liberation, hundreds of millions of years have passed in a deep, cold silence. The primordial gas, pure hydrogen and helium, drifts in the dark, gathering in massive, invisible clouds. But gravity, the most patient of all architects, has been working without rest. It has been pulling these clouds together, tighter and tighter, until the centers of these gas giants reach a temperature that the universe hasn't seen since the Big Bang. We are about to witness the end of the Dark Ages. We are approaching the birth of the first stars. The dawn of the giants, population 3. These first stars were unlike anything we see in our sky today, because the universe was still pristine, consisting only of the simplest gases. These pioneers could grow to sizes that seem impossible to us. They were the population 3 stars, behemoths hundreds of times more massive than our sun and 1,000,000 times more brilliant. Imagine the first one igniting. In the total, absolute blackness of the early cosmos, a single point of fierce, blue-white light suddenly tears through the void. Then another and another, until the darkness is freckled with the light of these ancient lanterns. These stars were the great cleansers. Their intense ultraviolet radiation flooded the space around them, ionizing the gas and making the universe permanently clear. They were short-lived, burning through their fuel with a frantic intensity, but their brief lives changed the destiny of the cosmos forever. The stellar alchemy. But light was not their only gift. Inside the crushing white-hot hearts of these first stars, the universe was learning to build. Until this moment, there was no solid ground, no liquid water, and no complex chemistry. There was only gas. But inside these stellar furnaces, the pressure was so immense that it forced simple hydrogen atoms to fuse together, creating helium. When the hydrogen ran low, the stars fused helium into carbon, then oxygen, then silicon. This is stellar nucleosynthesis, the cosmic forge. These first stars were the alchemists of the heavens. They were taking the raw, simple ingredients of the Big Bang and transmuting them into the building blocks of everything we know. Without these fierce giants, there would be no iron for the Earth's core, no calcium for your bones, and no carbon for the cells of your heart. Every complex atom in your body was once part of the searing plasma inside a star that died billions of years ago. The Great Sacrifice, supernovae. The population 3 stars were destined for a spectacular end. Because of their massive size, they could not sustain themselves for long. After only a few million years, they exhausted their fuel, and gravity won its final battle. The star's core collapsed in a heartbeat, triggering an explosion of such magnitude that it could outshine an entire galaxy. This was a supernova. In those final violent moments, the star performed its final act of creation. The heat of the explosion forged the heaviest elements of all, gold, silver, and uranium, and flung them out into the dark. The death of the first stars was the seeding of the universe. They scattered their hard-won treasures into the surrounding clouds, ensuring that the next generation of stars would be born with the ingredients necessary to build planets, moons, and, eventually, life. The light of these first lanterns faded, but their dust remained, drifting in the dark, waiting for gravity to call it home once more. The memory of fire. As you lie in the quiet of the night, realize that you are a biological expression of this ancient fire. The dust that these first stars left behind is the very substance of your existence. You are made of recycled suns. The energy that once powered a blue-white giant in the early universe is now the energy that allows you to dream. The universe is no longer a simple place of gas and light. It is becoming complex. It is becoming heavy with the weight of elements and the potential for solid things. The first stars have come and gone, leaving behind a cosmos that is forever changed. The darkness is returning, but it is a darkness filled with possibility, a darkness where the first dust is beginning to clump together. We are moving away from the era of solitary giants and into a time of organization. The dust and the gas are beginning to feel a new collective pull. The first small groups of stars are starting to find each other in the dark, drawn together into the first structures that will eventually become the great star cities. The age of the individual is ending, and the age of the galaxy is about to begin. We are drifting through the remnants of the first explosions, moving toward a time when the universe will weave its stars into the magnificent tapestries of the spiral and the ellipse. The universe is no longer a collection of isolated lanterns. The age of the solitary giants has passed, leaving the cosmos enriched with the heavy ash of their brilliance. Now, a new kind of order begins to emerge. In the vast, expanding dark, the drifting gas and the newly forged dust are not moving randomly. They are being guided by a silent, invisible hand, a force that does not glow, does not reflect, and does not speak, but whose weight dictates the fate of everything we see. We are entering the era of the great star cities. We are approaching the birth of the first galaxies. The silent architect, dark matter. Imagine a grand celestial ballroom. You see the dancers, the stars and the glowing clouds of gas, moving in beautiful, swirling patterns. But as you watch, you realize the dancers are not moving on their own. They are following the curves of a floor you cannot see. They are being held in place by partners who are invisible. This is the mystery of dark matter. Long before the first stars ignited, the universe was already filled with this mysterious substance. It is the shadow of the cosmos, making up 5 times more of the universe's mass than the atoms that form our bodies. Dark matter does not interact with light. It is a ghost that passes through stars and planets as if they were made of mist, but it has gravity. In the early ages of the universe, dark matter clumped together into a vast, interconnected network of filaments, the cosmic scaffold. It was within these dark cradles that the first galaxies were born. Dark matter provided the anchor. It held the gas in place so that the fires of creation could begin on a monumental scale. The assembly of light, the first galaxies, driven by the patient pull of dark matter, the remnants of the first stars and the massive clouds of primordial gas began to gather. They didn't form perfect spirals at first. The early galaxies were small, chaotic, and irregular, clumps of light huddled together in the deep. They were like small villages in a dark wilderness, slowly growing as they drew in more material from the surrounding void. Inside these budding galaxies, a new generation of stars was born. These stars were smaller, more stable, and longer-lived than the giants that came before them. They began to organize themselves into clusters, held together by their mutual gravity. Over billions of years, these small villages collided and merged, their gas and dust swirling together in a violent but creative process. Through these mergers, the small, messy clumps transformed into the majestic structures we recognize today. The great spirals with their sweeping arms and the vast, glowing orbs of the elliptical galaxies. We are witnessing the birth of the star cities, places where hundreds of billions of suns live and die in a shared gravitational embrace. The cosmic web, the largest pattern in existence. As we pull back our gaze, we see that the galaxies themselves are not scattered like grains of sand. They are arranged in a pattern so vast it defies human comprehension. This is the cosmic web. Galaxies follow the threads of dark matter, forming long, glowing filaments that stretch across hundreds of millions of light years. Between these filaments lie the great voids, immense empty spaces where almost nothing exists. The universe looks like a vast, three-dimensional tapestry or the neural network of some unthinkable mind. Every galaxy is a node, connected to every other galaxy by bridges of invisible gravity. This is the true architecture of reality, a delicate balance of presence and absence, of light caught in a web of shadow. As you lie in the quiet of the night, realize that our own Milky Way is just one tiny spark along one of these infinite threads, a small inhabitant of a structure that spans the entirety of existence. The stability of the spiral. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, eventually found its shape. It became a beautiful, rotating disk with a glowing heart and arms of blue stars and dark dust. This shape is a sign of maturity. The chaos of the early collisions has settled into a steady, rhythmic spin. In the center, a massive concentration of stars creates a brilliant core, while the outer arms provide a quiet, stable environment where stars like our Sun can burn for billions of years. This stability is what allowed the universe to move from a place of mere fire to a place of potential life. In the quiet suburbs of the galactic arms, the heavy elements scattered by the first stars have settled into stable clouds of dust. The stage is set for something even more focused, even more delicate. The star cities are built, the scaffolds are in place, and the cosmic web is humming with the weight of 1 trillion suns. We are drifting away from the grand, large-scale construction of the universe and moving toward the details. Within these star cities, The alchemy of the past is beginning to clump together in new ways. The dust is no longer just drifting, it is beginning to circle. We are moving toward the birth of the individual solar systems, where the debris of ancient supernova will find a new home. The great architects have finished the foundation. Now, the universe begins to build the houses. The star cities have grown vast and majestic, their spiral arms shimmering with the light of 100 billion suns. But at the very center of these celestial metropolises, where the stars are packed so tightly that the sky would be a solid wall of white, there lies a mystery that defies every law of our common experience. It is a place where gravity has won its absolute, final victory. As we move inward, toward the core of the galaxy, the light begins to swirl and bend. We are approaching the event horizon. We are entering the realm of the black hole, the gravity of no return. A black hole is not a hole in the sense of a tunnel or a void. It is a region of space where matter has been crushed so densely that the fabric of reality itself has snapped. Imagine taking the entire mass of our sun, a sphere nearly 1,000,000 miles wide, and squeezing it down until it is no larger than a small town. The resulting gravity is so intense that nothing, not even light, the fastest thing in the universe, can move fast enough to escape its pull. Around this invisible point lies the event horizon, the point of no return. It is a boundary in space, a silent threshold. Once a photon of light or a grain of dust crosses this line, it is gone from our observable universe forever. It has entered a one-way street toward the singularity, a point of infinite density where our understanding of physics simply stops working. But a black hole is more than just a consumer of matter. It is a master of time, the stretching of the now. According to the laws of relativity, gravity and time are woven together. The stronger the gravity, the slower time flows. If you were to watch a clock falling toward a black hole, you would see its hands begin to move more and more sluggishly. As it reached the event horizon, the ticking would slow to a crawl, eventually appearing to freeze entirely. To you, the clock would stay there for eternity, suspended in a final reddened moment. Image illustrating gravitational time dilation near a massive object. But for the clock, or for a traveler, the experience is hauntingly different. To them, time feels normal. But as they look back at the universe they are leaving behind, they see the history of the cosmos accelerate. They see stars live and die in seconds. They see galaxies collide and fade like flickering candles. Near a black hole, a few minutes is 1,000 years. It is a place where the present and the far future meet in a silent, dark embrace. As you lie in the quiet of your room, feel the steadiness of your own time, a gentle, linear flow that exists only because you are far away from the crushing depths of the galactic heart, the anchors of the galaxies. For a long time, we thought black holes were rare accidents, the remnants of particularly violent stellar deaths. But we now know that they are essential to the life of the universe. At the center of almost every galaxy, including our own Milky Way, sits a supermassive black hole. Ours is Sagittarius A, a monster 4 million times the mass of the Sun. These giants are the anchors of the star cities. They don't just eat stars, they regulate the birth of new ones. By blasting out jets of energy that stretch for light years, they heat the surrounding gas, preventing it from collapsing too quickly. They act as a cosmic thermostat, ensuring that the galaxy doesn't burn through its fuel all at once. The black hole is the dark, silent engine at the heart of the machine, a shadow that provides the balance necessary for the light to exist. The song of space, gravitational waves. When black holes move, they don't just pull on matter, they shake the very foundation of existence. When two black holes collide, they send ripples through the fabric of space-time, like a stone thrown into a still, dark pond. These are gravitational waves. For billions of years, these ripples have been traveling across the void, stretching and squeezing space as they go. In our own time, we have finally learned to hear them. When these waves pass through the earth, they move the mountains and the oceans, and your own body, by a distance smaller than a single atom. It is a tiny, silent tremor, a heartbeat from the most violent events in the universe reaching out to touch us. It is a reminder that space is not an empty void, but a physical substance that can vibrate with the memory of its own history. We are drifting away from the intense, warped reality of the galactic center, out toward the quieter, cooler reaches of the spiral arms. The darkness here is different. It is not the absolute dark of the black hole, but the fertile dark of the interstellar clouds. Within these clouds, the heavy elements forged by the first stars and the stability provided by the galactic anchor are coming together. The era of the great star cities is in full bloom, and within them, the first individual worlds are beginning to take shape. We are moving toward the nurseries, the places where the debris of the past is being gathered into the cradles of the future. The star cities have their hearts of darkness, but they also have their gardens of light. The intense, warped reality of the galactic center begins to recede, becoming a distant, glowing ember in the rear view of our imagination. We are drifting into the quieter suburbs of the Milky Way, into a minor spiral arm where the stars are spaced comfortably apart. Here, the darkness is not empty. It is filled with vast, cold clouds of gas and dust, the stardust left behind by generations of dead giants. In one of these clouds, about 4.5 billion years ago, a new story began to unfold. It is the story of our home. The falling cloud. Imagine a vast, dark nebula drifting through the galaxy. It is composed of cold hydrogen, but it is seasoned with the heavy elements we've seen forged in stellar fires: carbon, oxygen, iron, and gold. For eons, this cloud was still. But then, perhaps nudged by the shockwave of a distant supernova, gravity found a reason to act. The cloud began to collapse inward. As it fell toward its own center, it began to spin, flattening out like a potter's wheel into a glowing disk. In the heart of this disk, the pressure grew until a new star ignited, our sun. But the sun did not take everything. Around it, a thin veil of dust and gas remained, caught in a rhythmic circular dance. This was the protoplanetary disk, a chaotic nursery of grit and ice, where the leftovers of creation were about to become something solid. The gathering of stones. The birth of a planet is a process of incredible patience. It begins with microscopic grains of dust sticking together, held by static electricity. These tiny clumps grew into pebbles, the pebbles into boulders, and the boulders into massive planetesimals. It was a violent time of collisions. Thousands of young worlds competed for space, crashing into one another and merging. The inner disk was too hot for ices to survive, so only the heavy materials, the iron, the nickel, and the stone could endure. Here, the four rocky worlds were born: Mercury, Venus, Mars, and our Earth. Further out, beyond the frost line, it was cool enough for gases and ices to gather in enormous quantities, giving rise to the giants: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Each world was a unique experiment in cosmic chemistry, built from the debris of 1 billion years of history. The layers of Earth. Our Earth formed as a molten sphere of fire, a liquid testament to the energy of its own creation. As it began to settle, a beautiful organization took place. The heaviest elements, like iron and nickel, sank toward the center, forming a dense metallic core. This core is the engine of our world. It generates the magnetic field that protects us from the sun's fierce breath. Above the core, the lighter mantle settled, and finally, a thin, fragile crust of rock cooled on the surface. We live on this thin skin, a cooling ember in a vast, dark ocean. But even as the Earth cooled, it remained a child of the stars. The water that fills our oceans and the air that fills our lungs was delivered by millions of icy comets, wanderers from the outer reaches that rained down on the young planet. We are a world built by the collective efforts of the entire solar system, the alchemy of you. Take a moment to realize the depth of this connection. The water you drank today is older than the Earth itself. It was forged in the cold of the interstellar medium before the sun was born. The iron in your blood was forged in the heart of a star that exploded billions of years ago. The very ground you stand on is the ash of ancient suns, recycled and reorganized by gravity. You are not an observer of this world. You are a piece of it that has become conscious. You are the universe's alchemy in its most complex form. The journey from a cooling cloud of dust to a thinking, dreaming human being is a miracle of organization. As you lie in the quiet, feel the weight of this history. You are supported by a planet that spent billions of years preparing for your arrival. We are moving away from the birth of the Earth and toward the rhythms that govern its life. The solar system has found its balance. The planets have found their paths. But in the deep dark, beyond the familiar light of the sun, there are rhythms and vibrations we are only beginning to understand. The Earth is breathing, the sun is pulsing, and the distant remnants of other stars are ticking like clocks. We are moving toward the heartbeat of the cosmos, the great rhythms that keep the time of existence. The solar system has found its stability, a quiet harmony of spheres moving in predictable paths. Но Вселенная не просто вращается, она пульсирует. Она наполнена ритмами, которые намного старше и мощнее человеческого понимания времени. Когда вы засыпаете, мир вокруг кажется неподвижным, но в этот самый момент космос отсчитывает секунды с точностью, которая посрамляет наши лучшие атомные часы. Мы входим в сферу небесных маяков и дышащих гигантов. Мы настраиваемся на сердцебиение самой реальности. The ticking of the dead, pulsars. Imagine a star that has died, a core left behind after a massive explosion. It is a neutron star, an object so dense that a single teaspoon of its matter would outweigh the highest mountains on Earth. But this star is doing something extraordinary. It is spinning. As it rotates, it emits narrow beams of intense radiation from its magnetic poles, sweeping across the dark like the light of a cosmic lighthouse. These are pulsars. If the beam happens to point toward Earth, we see a pulse of light with every rotation. Some of these embers spin once every few seconds. Others, the millisecond pulsars, spin hundreds of times every single second, faster than the blades of a jet engine. Their rhythm is so precise that when they were first discovered, some thought they were signals from an alien civilization. They are the ultimate timekeepers of the void, ticking away in the darkness for millions of years, marking the passage of eons with a steady, unyielding tick, tick, tick. The breathing giants, variable stars. Not all cosmic rhythms are fast and frantic. Some are slow, deep, and patient. These are the variable stars, stars that grow and shrink in size over days, months, or even years. Imagine a giant red star, hundreds of times larger than our sun, slowly swelling as it traps heat within its layers and then shrinking as the energy escapes. This is a star taking a breath. As it expands, it glows with a fierce brilliance. As it contracts, it fades. One specific type, the Cepheid variables, act as the standard candles of the universe. Because the speed of their pulse is directly tied to their true brightness, astronomers use them to measure the distance to the furthest galaxies. By watching a star breathe, we can calculate the size of the entire cosmos. Every time you inhale and exhale tonight, remember that there are suns out there doing the same, their rhythmic tides guiding our understanding of space and time. The harmony of the spheres, even the silent vacuum of space, is filled with vibrations. Within our own sun, sound waves are constantly rippling through the plasma, making the solar surface heave and fall like the surface of a drum. This is helioseismology, the study of the sun's internal music. Every star has its own unique frequency, a song determined by its weight and age. The night sky is not a silent picture. It is a vast, resonant orchestra of billions of instruments, all playing a harmony of gravity and light. The clockwork of the universe is a system of orbits within orbits. The moon circles the earth circles the sun, and the sun circles the center of the Milky Way. Our solar system takes 230 million years to complete a single galactic year. Since we were last at this point in space, the dinosaurs have risen and fallen, and the continents have drifted across the globe. We are passengers on a journey of incredible scale, moving through the dark at 500,000 miles per hour. Yet the motion is so smooth, so perfectly timed, that we feel only the stillness of the night. The peace of the pattern. There is a profound security in these rhythms. They tell us that the universe is not a place of chaos, but a place of order. The pulsars will continue to tick, the giants will continue to breathe, and the galaxies will continue to turn long after our own stories have settled into the dust. You are a part of this pattern. Your own heartbeat and the cycles of your sleep are micro-echoes of these great celestial movements. We are moving away from the ticking clocks of the stars and toward the final chapters of the light. The universe has been burning bright for billions of years, but every fire eventually changes. The great rhythms are steady, but the substance of the stars is transforming. We are moving toward the far future, where the light begins to fade and the universe prepares for its long, quiet evening. The era of brilliant suns is at its peak, but in the distance, the first signs of the great cooling are beginning to appear. We are drifting toward the destiny of the light, where the fires of the past meet the silence of the future. The great rhythms of the pulsars and the breathing giants provide a sense of eternal order. But in the cosmos, even the most magnificent fires eventually change their form. The universe is a vast engine of transformation, and we are now drifting toward the chapters where the brilliant flares of youth begin to soften into the steady, quiet glow of old age. We are moving into the era of the stellar remnants, the time of the survivors who outlast the violent explosions of the past. The long farewell of the sun, our own sun, which has been the golden heart of our lives for billions of years, will not end with a bang. Its destiny is far more patient. In the distant future, once it has exhausted its hydrogen fuel and spent its time as a bloated red giant, it will gently exhale its outer layers into the void. This creates a planetary nebula, a shimmering, translucent shell of gas, a glowing monument to the star that once was. At the very center of this ethereal cloud, the sun's core will remain. It will settle into a white dwarf, a small, incredibly dense object about the size of the Earth, but with the mass of a sun. It is a star that has become an ember. It no longer produces its own heat. It simply radiates the warmth it gathered over its long life. Imagine the sun as a white-hot coal, cooling so slowly that it will take trillions of years to lose its glow. Every white dwarf ever formed in the history of the universe is still shining somewhere tonight, a faint, crystalline lantern in the deep dark. The crystalline heart. Inside these cooling embers, a beautiful transformation occurs. Because white dwarfs are made mostly of carbon and oxygen, the intense pressure of their own gravity begins to lock the atoms together as they cool. The star begins to crystallize from the inside out. In a very real sense, the star is turning into a giant cosmic diamond. Astronomers have already found such stars, immense spheres of crystalline carbon, trillions of carats of pure light, drifting silently through the galaxy. These are the diamonds in the sky that the old songs spoke of. They are the ultimate survivors, relics of former brilliance that have hardened into eternal jewels. Eventually, in a future so distant we can barely calculate it, these white dwarfs will cool completely, becoming black dwarfs, dark, invisible stones that no longer emit any light. But that day is far off. For now, the universe is still freckled with the soft, white light of these ancient embers, the red survivors, eternal red dwarfs. While the massive stars explode and the medium stars become white dwarfs, there is a third group of survivors. These are the red dwarfs, the smallest, coolest, and most common stars in the universe. They are the quiet introverts of the cosmos. Because they burn their fuel so slowly and efficiently, they can live for trillions of years. While the brilliant blue giants live and die in a few million years, these small red suns will still be glowing long after every other light in the sky has gone out. They are the ultimate endurance runners of the galaxy. Around many of these quiet stars, small rocky planets may circle for eons, warmed by a dim crimson glow that never changes. They represent the ultimate stability of the cosmos, a slow, steady burn that refuses to be hurried. The peace of the cooling. As you prepare for sleep, find comfort in this slow cooling of the universe. The transition from the fierce heat of a young star to the steady warmth of a white dwarf is a movement toward peace. It is a shedding of intensity in favor of longevity. The universe is not rushing toward an end. It is settling into a long, quiet evening. The white dwarfs and the red dwarfs remind us that there is a profound dignity in endurance. They do not need to be the brightest or the loudest to be essential. They are the keepers of the long-term memory of the cosmos. We are moving away from the individual lives of stars and towards the grand collective movements of the star cities. The individual lights may fade, but the dance continues on a much larger scale. The galaxies themselves are beginning to move toward one another, drawn by the same gravity that forged the stars. We are drifting toward the era of the great mergers, where the star cities will combine their histories into a single, magnificent embrace. While individual stars cool and settle into crystalline embers, the great star cities themselves are not static. The universe is a vast stage where entire galaxies move with a patient, unstoppable grace. We often think of our Milky Way as a fixed island in the dark, but it is actually part of a slow-motion choreography that has been unfolding for billions of years. Tonight, as the world around you falls silent, we expand our vision to the scale of the local group. We are approaching the great meeting of neighbors. We are entering the era of the galactic dance. The approaching neighbor, Andromeda. Our galaxy is not alone in the void. We have a sister, a majestic spiral known as the Andromeda Galaxy. To our eyes today, Andromeda is a faint, hazy smudge in the constellation from which it takes its name, the most distant object a human being can see with the naked eye. But that distance is closing. Andromeda is moving toward us at a speed of 250,000 miles per hour. For the last several billion years, these two giants, each containing hundreds of billions of suns, have been feeling the invisible pull of each other's gravity. They are on a collision course, but in the vastness of the cosmos, a collision is more like a ghostly merger. 4 billion years from now, the night sky of Earth will be dominated by the glowing arms of Andromeda as it begins to intertwine with our own. It will be a transformation of light and shadow on a scale that defies imagination. The dance of the spirals. Imagine the two galaxies beginning to touch. They don't crash like solid objects. They flow through one another like clouds of smoke. Because the space between stars is so immense, it is highly unlikely that even two individual suns will ever actually collide. Instead, the gravity of each galaxy will pull and stretch the other into new, fantastic shapes. Long, tidal tails, streams of stars and gas millions of light years long, will be flung out into the intergalactic dark like glowing ribbons. The familiar spiral arms will be torn apart, only to be woven back together in a new arrangement. This is a merger of histories, a blending of two ancient star cities into one. Over hundreds of millions of years, the two galaxies will pass through each other, swing back, and finally settle into a single, massive entity. The birth of Milkdromeda. The result of this grand embrace will be a new kind of galaxy, a giant elliptical orb that astronomers have already named Milkdromeda. The chaotic, swirling arms of the past will settle into a stable, glowing sphere of aging stars. The supermassive black holes at the heart of each galaxy will find each other, merging into a single, even more powerful core. From a distance, Milkdromeda will look like a beacon of peace, a vast, unified metropolis of light. While the individual identities of the Milky Way and Andromeda will be gone, their stars will continue to shine in this new collective home. This is the ultimate lesson of the galactic dance. that even the most massive forces in the universe find a way to integrate, to merge, and to find a new stable balance. The starburst, a final flare of youth. As the galaxies merge, the vast clouds of gas and dust from both will be compressed, triggering a final spectacular starburst. Thousands of new, brilliant blue stars will ignite all at once, lighting up the merging galaxies like 1,000 suns. It is a final celebration of youth before the new elliptical milkdrometer settles into its long, quiet maturity. As you lie in the quiet, realize that our own path through the stars is part of this grand movement. We are traveling with the Milky Way toward this future meeting. We are part of a story that takes billions of years to tell. The stillness of your night is supported by the massive, steady momentum of 1,000,000,000,000 suns. We are moving away from the era of mergers and toward the final horizons of space. The galaxies have found their new forms, but the universe itself is still stretching. In the deep dark beyond Milkdrometer, a new force is beginning to dominate the story. We are moving toward the Great Expansion, where the distances between the star cities begin to grow faster than light can follow. Ниже представлена 10-я часть нашей бесконечной истории. Мы покидаем локальные границы нашего слияния с Андромедой и устремляем взгляд в самые дальние уголки пространства. В этой главе мы встретимся с величайшей силой Вселенной, темной энергией, которая медленно, но верно раздвигает границы реальности. The majestic merger of Milkdromeda represents a victory of gravity, a coming together of light and history into a single unified home. Но пока наши две галактики сливаются в объятиях, остальная Вселенная начинает ускользать. Мы вступаем в эпоху великого отчуждения. Чем больше мы узнаем о пространстве, тем яснее понимаем. Оно не просто существует, оно дышит и растягивается. И это расширение подчиняется силе, которая гораздо могущественнее звезд и черных дыр. Мы приближаемся к космическому горизонту. Мы знакомимся с темной энергией. The Great Discovery of Acceleration. For most of human history, we believed the universe was static, a permanent, unchanging stage. Then, we thought it was slowing down, held back by the weight of its own galaxies. But at the close of the 20th century, the cosmos revealed its most startling secret. By watching the light of distant, dying stars, astronomers found that the universe isn't just expanding, it is accelerating. Imagine throwing a ball into the sky. Instead of slowing down and falling back to your hand, the ball suddenly gains speed, racing away toward the clouds faster and faster until it vanishes from sight. This is what dark energy is doing to the fabric of reality. It is a mysterious, invisible pressure that fills every cubic inch of the vacuum. As the universe expands and more nothingness is created, there is more dark energy, which in turn pushes the galaxies away even more fiercely. It is the ghost in the machine, a force that works against gravity to ensure that the universe will never be a closed room. The cosmic event horizon. Because this expansion is speeding up, we are living in a universe with a boundary, not a physical wall, but a limit of light. This is the cosmic event horizon. Imagine standing on a shore, watching a ship sail away. As the space between you and the ship stretches faster and faster, a point comes where the space is growing more quickly than the ship can move. In our universe, light is that ship. There are galaxies out there right now whose light is traveling toward us at its maximum speed. But because the space between us is stretching so fast that light will never reach our eyes, They have crossed the horizon. They have moved beyond the reach of time itself. Trillions of years from now, the night sky will be a much lonelier place. All the distant galaxies we see today will have faded into the infrared and disappeared, leaving Milk-Dromedar alone in an infinite, dark ocean. We are living in a privileged window of cosmic history, a brief golden age where we can still see the vast, interconnected web of the stars. The Big Freeze, a long, quiet breath. What is the ultimate end of this stretching? Most signs point toward a destiny known as the heat death, or more gently, the Big Freeze. As dark energy continues its work, the universe will grow colder and thinner. The distances between things will become so vast that even the light of the stars will feel stretched thin. But do not think of this as a tragedy. Imagine it instead as the universe finally finding its rest. After billions of years of intense heat, violent explosions, and frantic motion, the cosmos is slowly reaching its equilibrium. It is a movement toward a perfect stillness where every particle is at peace and every vibration has settled. It is a long, slow exhale that lasts for trillions of eons. In this future, the universe doesn't end in fire. It whispers itself away into a deep, dreamless sleep. The resilience of home. As you lie in the quiet of your room, let the scale of this expansion act as a sanctuary. On our human scale, and even on the scale of our local galaxy, gravity is still the master. Dark energy cannot pull your atoms apart. It cannot even pull the planets from the sun. It only works on the grandest, most distant scales of the void. This tells us something profound about the nature of existence. That while the universe is growing vast and distant, the things that are close to us, the things we are bound to by gravity and love, are the only things that truly stay. The expansion of the void only highlights the value of the local. Our home in Milk-Dromedar will remain a fortress of light, even as the rest of the cosmos recedes into the dark. We are moving away from the stretching voids and back toward the individual. The universe has expanded to its furthest reaches in our minds, and now it is time to return to the observer. We have seen the fire, the dust, the gravity, and the dark energy. Now we must ask, what does it mean that you are here to see it at all? We are moving toward the grand synthesis. We are moving toward the realization that the universe is not just a place you live in, but a process that has become you. The universe has expanded to the very limits of our imagination, pushing the distant galaxies beyond the cosmic horizon and settling into a long, slow cooling. But as we pull our gaze back from the infinite stretching of dark energy, we find ourselves returning to the most remarkable thing in all of existence. It is not the brilliance of a quasar or the weight of a black hole. It is the fact that there is an observer. It is you. Throughout this journey, we have spoken of the universe as if it were a place you were visiting, a grand theatre in which you are a guest. But tonight, as the quiet of the night deepens, we reach the grand synthesis. We realize that you are not a stranger in a strange land. You are the universe itself, looking back at what it has become. The mirror of atoms. Every atom that makes up your body tells a story that is 13.8 billion years old. The hydrogen in the water that flows through your veins was born in the first minutes of the Big Bang. The carbon in your DNA, the oxygen in your breath, and the calcium in your bones were forged in the white-hot hearts of ancient stars and scattered across the dark in the final spectacular breath of supernovae. When you touch your hand, you are touching the remnants of stars. When you feel the warmth of your skin, you are feeling a biological version of the energy that once powered the first lanterns of the cosmos. You are a masterpiece of stellar alchemy, a collection of cosmic dust that has been recycled, reorganized, and refined by gravity until it could think, feel, and dream. There is no part of you that is not celestial, the eyes of the cosmos. For billions of years, the universe was a silent, unobserved expanse. Stars lived and died, and galaxies merged in the void with no one to celebrate their beauty. But then, on this small blue-green world, the universe did something extraordinary. It became conscious. Through you, the cosmos has found a way to see itself. When you look at the night sky and feel a sense of awe, it is the universe admiring its own reflection. When you study the movement of the planets or the depth of a nebula, it is the universe seeking to understand its own origins. You are the eyes, the ears, and the mind of the cosmos. Without life, the universe would still be magnificent, but its beauty would be a secret kept in the dark. You are the one who hears the symphony, the miracle of your context. Consider the incredible chain of events that led to this moment. The Big Bang had to expand at the perfect rate. The first stars had to forge the right elements. The dark matter had to build the correct scaffold. And the Earth had to survive the chaos of its own birth. Every black hole collision we've discussed, and every rhythmic tick of a pulsar contributed to the environment that allows you to exist. Your existence is not a coincidence. It is the culmination of a 13 billion-year process of increasing complexity. You are the point where the universe's long journey from heat to light finally reaches a state of profound awareness. As you lie in the quiet, realize that there is a deep, silent dignity in your being. You are a fleeting, precious spark of consciousness, in which the entire history of the stars is currently being remembered. The quiet harmony. We often feel small when we look at the Milky Way, but size is not the measure of importance. A galaxy is vast, but it cannot wonder. A star is powerful, but it cannot feel love. You possess something that the great gas giants and the black holes do not, the ability to experience the mystery. You belong to this pattern. The same laws of physics that govern the expansion of the void are the same laws that govern the firing of the synapses in your brain. You are connected to the furthest quasar and the oldest light by an invisible, unbreakable thread. You are home. We are moving toward the final chapter of our journey. The synthesis is complete. We have seen the fire, the dust, the rhythms, and the observer. Now, there is only one thing left to do. The universe has been working for eons to bring you to this night, to this stillness. We are moving toward the final rest, where the story of the stars meets the peace of your own sleep. The great clockwork is ticking, the expansion is stretching, and the ancient light is watching. We are drifting toward the ultimate quiet. Ниже представлена заключительная 12-я часть нашей саги. Мы достигли конца пути, где грандиозная история Вселенной соединяется с тишиной вашего сна. Our journey across the eons has brought us back to the present moment, back to the soft rhythm of your breathing and the stillness of the night. We have seen the universe unfold from a single point of light, forge its own substance in the hearts of stars, and weave its galaxies into a vast, glowing web. We have felt the push of dark energy and the pull of dark matter. Now we arrive at the final destination, the place where all that vastness becomes a sanctuary for your rest, the cycle of stillness. Everything in the universe moves toward a state of equilibrium. The stars, after their long and brilliant lives, settle into the quiet crystallization of white dwarfs. The galaxies, after their majestic dances, merge into stable and peaceful elliptical cities. Even the expanding void is a movement toward a final, perfect stillness. Sleep is your own personal version of this cosmic balance. It is the moment when you set aside the frantic motion of the day and return to the steady, underlying calm of the cosmos. Think of your sleep not as a lack of activity, but as a return to the source. You are entering a state of potential, much like the singularity from which everything began. In the quiet of your mind, the boundaries of time and space dissolve. The past 13.8 billion years and the trillions of years yet to come are held in a single, silent moment. You are at peace because you are part of a system that is fundamentally stable, governed by laws that have not changed since the dawn of time. As you drift closer to the edge of dreams, let your body feel its ancient lineage. The atoms that form your limbs are finally still. They are no longer part of the violent collisions of the early Earth or the searing heat of a stellar core. They are home. They have traveled across light years and through eons of history to be exactly where they are right now, supporting you, protecting you, and allowing you to experience this rest. The universe is a vast machine of recycling and renewal. Just as the stars give their matter back to the nebula to create new worlds, your sleep allows your mind and body to renew themselves. You are participating in the great cosmic breath, the inhalation of experience and the exhalation of rest. There is a profound symmetry in this. Every living thing, every planet and every star follows this rhythm of activity, followed by repose. You are in harmony with the entirety of existence. The stars will continue to burn in the distance. The black holes will keep their silent vigil at the centers of the galaxies. The expansion will continue to stretch the fabric of space. But none of that requires your effort tonight. The universe is carrying you. It is a vast, self-sustaining masterpiece that does not need you to hold it together. You can let go. You can let the gravity of your sleep pull you down into a deep, dreamless abyss where there is no weight, no time, and no noise. Imagine the Milky Way as a giant, glowing cradle turning slowly in the dark. Imagine the ancient light of the Big Bang as a soft, cooling blanket that covers the entire sky. You are tucked into the heart of a story that has no end, only a series of beautiful transitions. Tonight, your transition is from the light of the day to the peace of the night. If you feel your eyelids growing heavy, allow the grand story of life on Earth to wrap around you gently and guide you into calm. Don't forget to subscribe to listen to more of our bedtime stories. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and slowly drift into sleep, into silence, into the boundless, timeless current where all life intertwines. Wishing you a quiet, comforting night.